Welcome to Strong Dads. Hey, we want to start our show a little bit different than normal. Andy, you want to talk to them about where we're going to start the show?
Yeah, today, as we're filming this, is Tuesday, October 14th, and it is the National Day of Remembrance for Charlie Kirk. So, as I said, it would have been his 32nd birthday, and the House of Representatives passed a resolution in September designating today, Tuesday, October 14th, as the National Day of Remembrance for Charlie Kirk. The September resolution encourages educational institutions, civic organizations, and citizens across the United States to observe this day with appropriate programs, activities, prayers, and ceremonies that promote civic engagement and the principles of faith, liberty, and democracy that Charlie Kirk championed.
Yeah. So, guys, we just wanted to make that statement because there's no secret here that we have a lot of civil discourse or just discourse in our nation. And Charlie was somebody who tried to do it civilly and with respect to each other. And so we just want to start the show with that. And we're going to talk today in our show about how we can do that and still honor God within our show. So let's get into this, and hopefully you guys will appreciate and enjoy, and maybe it'll change your view on how you're approaching topics, especially in the political realm. Are you hungry for some fantastic food and a great atmosphere? Then head over to the Hebron Grill. Distinctively Southern and soulfully unique, the Hebron Grill has something for everyone. It's the perfect spot for family dinners, a quick lunch, or catching up with friends. We want to send a huge thank you to the Hebron Grill for being a sponsor of the Strong Dads podcast and for their incredible support in helping us empower dads everywhere. So the next time you're looking for a great meal, remember the Hebron Grill. Find them online or stop by today. That's the Hebron Grill. Great food and great community.
Welcome to Strong Dads, guys. This is Andy Dalton here. I'm here with Merle Hutchinson. How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. You know.
You feeling good? Body's feeling good?
I pulled a muscle yesterday. So just as I'm starting to get back into shape and trying to run, I did about a 2.5 mile run, and all of a sudden, zing, right my left hamstring. So that's the worst part about getting older.
Yeah.
I was not running fast. I was just
going,
trudging along.
Is it like where your mind says, I can still do these things, and then your body goes, what are you thinking? Is it like that disconnect?
Probably. And I'm too stupid to pick up on it. But one thing that is different is 20 years ago, I would have had my little pull, and I would have just said, just run slower, just keep it going. Yeah. And now I know, no, that never works well. You don't want, if you feel it, if it's one of those weird out of nowhere pains, you better listen to it. So I just immediately shut it down. Because I was 2.5 miles away from home, I walked 2.5 miles back home.
You still got to work out walking.
I did. I still got the same mileage on the Strava, but the second half was pretty slow.
The speed is different.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, we got an interesting show today.
Yeah, we do.
And so we might say that this is running off of the coattails of the Charlie Kirk assassination, but it is and it's not. You know, we have, on Strong Dads, purposefully stayed away from politics. Probably in all of our years, we've done one or two shows that had a hint of some political flavor to it, but not much. And the reason is because I just don't want to get into one of those my side against your side. And so in particular, the whole Charlie Kirk thing, whether you liked Charlie Kirk or not, from a Christian perspective, the one thing he did, and that's kind of what, I was thinking about and putting this show together, is and I didn't know him personally, so there could be something behind the scene I don't know. But so much of his talk was centered around the way of Christ.
Yes.
Not the political way, not the right, not the left, even though he would lean right, and I get that. But he would oftentimes, what would Christ do, right? Or what was the way of Christ? And so that's kind of what framed me up, I really think we need to take some deep consideration as to whether we have fallen into party politics and how we make our choices, or are we allowing the way of Christ to determine what our party politics might look like?
Yeah.
And I think that that's an important thing, because I know people, straight up would just declare one party or the other as their voting ballot. I'm going to do Republican. I'm going to do Democrat. And I just, personally, I really struggle with that. Yeah. It's like, well, that dude over there, like, he doesn't believe anything that Christ does, right, or says. Yeah. And so, but he runs under this particular party. Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of where the discussion hopefully will go. Our point probably with today's show, guys, is if you're out there listening, we're not here to convince you what you want to do. I mean, what we would like to do is get you to think. Get you to think about, have you really given thought to what the way of Christ is versus how you're actually acting in the ballot boxes and in your discussion. So, one of the things that often comes up in these political conversations is, at least he's not as bad as this guy. It's like, well,
there's no line that's straight. It's all curvy and wavy. And you go back to Charlie Kirk too. I think, we were talking about this before we started recording, of the stance that Christian men, have to be able to take. And he took a very strong stance. You knew what he stood for. Yeah. He was very adamant about it. He didn't waver from it. And I think, what can be fearful for some people is he had some polarizing thing. You loved or hated him, right? In some way or form. There's very little who was neutral, because he was so public about, what his views were. Yeah. And some people are like, I'm afraid to get that public, because what if people hate me and I get shunned or canceled, that cancel culture idea. So, for us, how does that look as Christian men in a world? How did Jesus do it? You know, and so I think that is one of the talks that I want to come from too. Is we've got the ultimate role model, not in Charlie Kirk, but in Jesus. Right. And how did he handle polarizing figures like the Pharisees and Herodians and all of these different political, parties coming at him, and he handled them so perfectly well. Yeah, because he always went to God's truth. Yes. Right? Yep. So we're going to get into that. Before we go any farther, let's thank our sponsors. We want to thank Quality Auto Mart, Casey's Outdoor Solutions, and the Hebron Grill. So, guys, we greatly appreciate, our sponsors, and just all of you out there who continue to support our messaging as we have kind of come back online and producing shows again. We greatly appreciate that. We have had just a large outpouring of love and support after some of the changes from my medical condition and stuff. And we're going to keep on rolling as long as we can. And even if we can't, we're going to keep on rolling, right? Yeah, we're going to figure it out.
We will figure it out. So we want to thank our sponsors. So if you're doing any business with those guys, please tell them thanks. Continue to support them, and just encourage what they're doing for our community. Yeah. So we started talking about this topic with the idea of Charlie Kirk. And again, it's not the Charlie Kirk topic that we're going to get into, but there are some things here that have wakened us to really what's going on. One, the loss of Charlie. It's a tragic loss. Yes, it is. A man of innocence. He was murdered. He left a wife and 2 young kids. Yeah. Now those kids are young enough, they're never going to know daddy. No. So that's just terrible, right? Yeah. And then one of the things, on a bigger level is we've watched it put a spotlight on the division in our country. Yes. All right. Which is not always bad, because you can see the crack now. And versus just looking past it. So somebody's put a light on it. Yep. But now we have a responsibility. Yes. So we have a crack. That means something's broken. Yep. So what are you going to do? You're going to let the crack continue to grow and turn into the dam's going to blow up eventually, which that's the civil war that people are talking about. Oh yeah. Right. Yes. Yeah. The absolutely. Potential and that kind of thing. So, but we have a responsibility to do something better and to heal. Yep. And so that's probably a little bit more of the direction here that we need to at least talk about.
Yeah. And I think too, along with that, like how you fix that crack too. Are we putting a patch over it, or are we, going all the way to the root cause? And some of it too, when we talk about a nation being as divided, how we go to fix this crack is going to be too, because in your face, you are wrong, and you're polarizing, and it's not out of love, and it's not, there's ways that people are jumping on, the emotional roller coaster of what had happened.
Right.
And I wonder if they're doing it for the right reasons, or do they have the right motive behind it? And then as they go in and they talk to other people about the situations, again, you've got some heated emotions on one side or the other, and it leads to like, okay, how are we out of love? Are we saying this? Are we doing this in a way that's going to mend the crack in some way, or is it going to cause a bigger and stronger divide?
Yeah. And so why would we be divided, right? Like, so why does somebody believe one way on an issue and another person believes another way on an issue, and both of them feel very convicted about it? Like, no, my way is the right way to believe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think this gets much more deeper into the responsibility that we all carry to find out why we are voting or saying the things that we're saying. Like, so where is the substance that you have? Where's the background that supports why you're taking that view?
My dad told me to.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what you'll see with kids. Like when we worked in the elementary school.
Yeah.
And always around election time, you could hear kids talking about, especially boys, you'd hear them talk about, well, I like President Trump, or I like Joe Biden. And then you'd ask a question, well, who are your parents voting for? Well, they're voting for Trump, or they're voting for, and so so we can see how influenced our kids are by this.
Yeah.
And that, by the way, that goes with religion or whatever, right? If you're Catholic, your kids are going to be Catholic, right? Because that's how you talk.
Yes.
But at some point in time, there has to be ownership, personal ownership, that I'm not going to vote for this guy because my daddy said to, but because this is how I believe he operates, and this is how it follows into my belief system.
Yeah. And understanding too, like raising your kids to believe what you believe isn't a bad or wrong thing, but also underneath that, raising them to allow them to think.
Yeah.
Like, hey, this is what I believe. This is why I believe what I believe. This is what the Word of God says. I'm showing you how I've come to my viewpoint. What do you think about it? And allowing what God has done for us. Our Father gave us what? Freedom. Will.
Yeah.
Right.
Freedom.
And so he gave us free will to choose to accept him or not. And we don't want to be the strong arm of our kids. You will love Jesus. You will be Republican. Right. Just to make them robots of, I don't know, my dad said I'm all Republican on this ballot.
Yeah. Yeah. So Christ is wanting us to go back to the heart level, like the reason of why we do what we do.
Yep.
And I think this is the part where we would want to challenge all you strong dads out there that are listening. Why are you doing what you're doing? Like what's the rudder in the water that keeps you going that way? And if the rudder in the water is constantly flipping back and forth because you don't quite know how you stand on an issue, then you're part of the problem. Your boat's going everywhere based off of the influence of the waves. So how do I lock down and get a specific direction? And, for us here, I mean, we don't hide behind this. We're strong dads. We follow a Christian worldview.
Yes.
That right there is like the first statement that you have to make a decision on.
Yeah.
And I've gone through many times, like I did not always have a Christian worldview.
Yeah. Nope.
I mean, that has been an evolving process because there were times where I'm like, well, if that's the way that guy wants to do it, fine. If it doesn't bother me.
Yeah. It doesn't affect me and my family. Like you do your thing.
Yeah. And then, but you come to find at a larger societal level that can be very disruptive.
Yes.
It changes how schools are operating and changes how a lot of things are happening. So I think one of the first things that we would ask you guys to think about is, are your political views aligned with God's views? Right? So call yourself a Democrat, call yourself a Republican. One of the very first things I had to do is like, well, what did Jesus say?
Yeah.
I don't care about these parties. And so that would be one of our first challenges out there. Like, put your politics aside, and what would Jesus do?
Yeah. Do we have, scripture for backing that? And what I came up with when looking that up, like, kind of typed in, like, all right, I've read the Bible, but I don't know them all word for word where to go. And so using my help of this tool of computer, Matthew 22 popped up. and so if you guys don't know Matthew 22, Jesus is, there's two parties. He's at this place where he is giving some parables and stories. The Herodians and Pharisees are trying to trap him. They're like, hey, Jesus, do you, where is it at? What does it say? It says, Matthew 22:18. They're asking him, like, hey, are you supposed to go and, let me go back a verse here. Some of the Pharisees want to get rid of Jesus, and they sent a disciple in to spring a trap. They plan to soften Jesus up with flattery, and then they pose a hard question, right? And so they ask him, are they supposed to pay taxes? Sorry, I'm opening this up, finally getting the whole bit of it. So they ask him, are they supposed to pay taxes? And Jesus, knowing it's a trap, understands, like, okay, if I say no, that you're not supposed to pay taxes, and you undermine the political system, what does that look like? Does that make me a hypocrite? If I say, yes, you're supposed to pay taxes, does that mean I'm idolizing Caesar because of the money?
Right.
And so he's in a lose-lose with these guys. It's a catch-22, to pay taxes or not. And they think that they've got him accused. And he comes back with his brilliant answer. He's aware of their malice. Why put me to test, you hypocrites? Show me the coin for the tax. And they brought him the denarius, the coin, and it had a symbol of Caesar on it. And he said, give to Caesar what is Caesar's. So basically, we just do whatever the government says, right? Give to Caesar what is Caesar. We're underneath their law. Just do it. Well, no, that's not what he's saying.
Right.
He's saying, well, what does Caesar put his stamp on? Caesar put a stamp on coin, on money, right? And so he stamped his face on material items and said, give me a percentage of the material items. So Jesus said, sure, give it to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
What did God put his stamp on? On
our flesh.
Yeah,
on
our
Our
souls.
spirit. Yeah.
He said, you are mine. I paid a price for you, right? So my stamp is on you.
Yeah.
I'm worried about your soul, your flesh, your life, human lives, human souls, eternity in heaven, not this material wealth what the moths will eat up. These stores of riches will get eaten away by moths. So put your treasure up in heaven, says Matthew chapter 6. So,
yeah, that's great stuff. The idea, and I really like that you point out the material side, that Caesar and the government is always looking at the material things, right? Yeah. And we in our home, our happiness is much more, as you come to find as you get older, based off of the immaterial.
Yes.
The love, the time, the affection that you get, the caring. And so those are the things that Christ is asking us to pay greater attention to.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a good thing.
And the two kingdoms, it says in like Mark somewhere that he calls us to serve an upside down kingdom, right? And so right now, like political parties and kingdoms of this world or not of this world, like I think how do we, in Christ's way and his views and his political alignment, how do we make that stance? Because as a strong dad, as a strong Christian man, how does that look for you? How has that been for you in your walk?
Well, I'd say, this is easy stuff to say. But the very first thing you have to do is if you're going to align yourself with God's way, you better know what God's way is.
That's good.
And so, the very first challenge that we would have out of moving through this conversation is it's pretty easy to know the way of the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. It's all over the news, right? It doesn't take long to get those. You'll have debates around the presidency, election, and stuff like that. But do you even know God's view? Do you even know his way?
Yeah.
And so the very first thing we have to do is, what would God's way be on this? Yeah. And you're going to find that it doesn't always follow what your party might be doing.
Nope.
Yeah.
And for you, thinking back to the individuals watching this, how did you learn about God's ways in that? Because I know for me, it came in a group of other men or in a group of other people in that way. Like I had to because if I just read it by myself, I wouldn't always understand exactly what is God meaning by this. And I can do my own search and I can get that. But when surrounded by other people, the insight of somebody else to say like, well, what about this? Like, I never thought of that before. That's a really great point, Merle.
Yeah.
What about how did you grow in that understanding of his ways?
I mean, this is part of John 14:6. I'm the way, the truth, and life. Nobody gets to the Father except through me. So that was my fall to my knees moment of, I guess I'm going to surrender to his way.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that's when I really started becoming more neutral in my politics.
Okay.
For me.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to get me casting out the right hand or the right side or the left side vote purely.
Yep.
Because I really do have to go through the different laws and political figures that are running and to say the best you can. You don't always know where a guy stands, where a lady stands, but to try to say, do they honor God?
Yeah.
And if they are not honoring God, then I'm not voting for them. So that's where I kind of came. And that wasn't even until probably my late 30s that I started to do that. Because before then it was just like, well, who's the popular guy, or who's the guy that's in line with what my friend group is?
Yes.
And now, like, I think one of the harder parts is I still have lots of friends. And, let's just be honest, my group, and probably yours too, leans conservative Republican.
Yes.
Okay?
Yep.
But that's not really now what I've come to find out is a lot of these guys are pulling this conservative lever. And a lot of these politicians are not honoring God's way.
No.
And they're not doing it through their lifestyle.
Yeah.
And our own president struggles right now.
Yeah.
Right? And to not call that out is just wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not his judge.
No.
But I'm also not to go blindly and follow him. Give to Caesar what is Caesar's, right?
Yeah.
But otherwise, no, I got to keep what is between me and
Yeah.
Christ.
Give to God what is God.
Yeah. Are you dreaming of a stunning landscape or a refreshed living space? Look no further than Casey's Outdoor Solutions and Gift Shop. Located just outside of Bright, Indiana, Casey's specializes in transforming the outside of your home with expert landscaping services. They'll also help you beautify the inside with unique finds from their amazing gift shop. We want to send a huge thank you to Casey's Outdoor Solutions and Gift Shop for being a fantastic sponsor of the Strong Dads podcast. Their support helps us continue to uplift and inspire dads in our community. For all your landscaping dreams and eye-catching home accents, visit Casey's Outdoor Solutions and Gift Shop. That's Casey's, making your home beautiful inside and out.
Yeah, and so, what you're saying is you've got to go and get an understanding. If I'm going to follow God's political ways, I've got to, one, submit to it, to understand it, so that I can take a strong stance on the foundation he's solidified. Right. Even politically, too, you can do the same thing. You can't just blindly follow Trump because he's my president, or you do the other person, he's not my president. Like, well, he is. You live in America. Right, yeah. He is your president. Whether you like him or love him, he is your president. And so we've got to give his dues because he's the president, honor the respect that you're in the country, give to Caesar what is Caesar. But at the same time, that doesn't mean like Trump is right about everything. He's our savior. No. Trump's a man. He's a broken man, but I'm not agreeing with everything he does.
Yeah.
But that takes intentionality on our part as men to do some research behind it, which I know that I fall short of. I don't check in to say, like, are you following all of the ways?
Right.
And then I think what that does is that leans me to not be on stable ground as what I should be. And I can't stand as firm as what God is calling us as men, because Jesus didn't back down from the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the Herodians. When they came at him and attacked him, he didn't back away like, I don't know, see ya. He said, no, hold on. This is why we can give to Caesar what is Caesar, and this is why I'm not giving him my soul. I'm not giving him my life, because that's God's. He stamped it.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing that makes it difficult for us as we're making these decisions is we want a black and white. Should I vote this way or this way? All right. I want a black and white answer. And we find that Christ, we've said this in other shows, Christ does not work off of black and white.
Yeah.
Because of this crazy thing called grace.
Yep.
Where, there's truth and there's justice, right? And then there's grace. And so there's all these different things that we're trying to figure out. And some people say, I just want to work off of truth. No, you don't, because we'd all burn in hell if that were the case. So you don't want to work off of truth, but you do want truth in it.
Yes.
And you don't want pure grace, because then you'd be constantly, nobody would ever have to be accountable for anything they do. Oh, it's okay. I know what you did was not. Yeah. So walking this balance is what happens with us with Christ. And so us trying to find, when we're going through these political views and how I should stand, this black and white approach is not, it only works on paper.
Yeah.
It doesn't work with people.
No.
Yeah, because people are made up of grace and love and truth.
Yeah.
And so we have to take that into consideration. There are definitely ways to lean, right? Like we should lean towards the truth.
Yes.
But we have to know when to sprinkle the grace in.
Yeah.
So it makes it difficult.
Oh, yeah. And I think, too, when you talk about, like, okay, well, how does it look in our lives? You know, going back to the model that Jesus did and where he was so polarizing, like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
He's eating with tax collectors and sinners and prostitutes.
Yeah.
Completely on the other spectrum of, like, I can't believe you, Republican, having dinner with a Democrat.
Exactly.
How dare you? But he did it because I'm here for eternal and things that don't perish. I'm here for souls. And so I can have conversations. I can have dinners. I can have luncheons. I can have relationships with people who have different political views than us because, you said our friends in our friend group are probably going to lean more towards a conservative Democrat. Does that mean we can never Republican?
Right,
yeah. We're saying these numbers so much. Conservative Republican. Does that mean we can't ever hang out with Democrats? I can't associate with them?
No. Yeah.
That's not what Jesus did.
No, exactly. And so I think that does get us to that next point of, well, what should I do? You got to keep the conversation going.
Yeah.
So rather than trying to argue your point, how about you take the time to listen to another's point?
Yeah, that's good.
Rather than constantly coming in seeing how I can put my stamp on why I'm right.
Yes.
To listen to somebody else's. So this is kind of a marriage, right? So we know in marriage that if both or one of them is always trying to convince the other that they are wrong and I am right, that marriage is going to be really broken.
Yep.
And so we constantly have to go back to saying, this is a phrase that I use in marriage work is not how can me win, but how can we win?
Yes.
How can we win? And that means compromise.
Yep.
And our basic system of government with the two-party system is kind of designed for that conflict. And that conflict is good.
Yes.
But you have to be able to find the middle ground of how can we win instead of how can me win. And me means my party or your party.
Yes.
And so compromise is one of the great reaches for us to get to a more stable, healthy place.
Yes.
I once I worked with some negotiations and with our teachers and with our administration when I was in the schools. And one time, well, it seemed like every year we were going into mediation. It got ugly just about every year we had negotiations. And the mediator that came in that particular year, he said, I know none of you want to hear this, but my goal today is to come out of here with both of you unhappy.
Okay, that's great.
and I was like, huh? And because, of course, from my side, I want to leave happy.
Yes.
And the other side wants to leave happy. If I leave happy, that means I did it at the expense of the other team.
Yeah, that's
right?
good. Yes.
And so the idea for the mediator was, my goal is to get you both to leave here a little happy, a little unhappy.
Yes.
So that way I know I've gotten both of you to come to the table.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's really, so much of what we need to be coming back to. If we polarize, we get to the Civil War levels.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And so that's what we're trying to avoid so we don't destroy something greater than a particular topic.
Yeah, exactly. And that at the expense of human lives.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then too, we go back into the ultimate handbook for how to do this with the Bible. And it says in Ephesians, how do we practice this civil discourse of give and take and compromise to a certain degree where we don't get off of our stance of truth on the foundation that God sets, but we have some compromise there. We do it out of love and truth. And Ephesians 4:15 instructs us to speak the truth. Again, we've got to land on that truth. Yeah. Being strong Christian men on the foundation of God in love. Like you said, we're not trying to win. Like, I am right. This is what it says. I'm going to bash you over the head with it because you're going to hell. No, that's not how God did it. That's not how he won people to, to understand, like, hey, listen, this is the way, this is the truth, this is life. Can I show you? I promise you it's better. But he did it out of love, speaking the truth. And so I think that's where, again, how do we find that in our day-to-day lives? How do we find this compromise between somebody who does have some opposite beliefs than us?
Yeah. Well, you've noticed that with the Charlie Kirk thing, something that came out pretty quickly, and I just didn't think about it until I started to witness it, that even though that was a very polarizing thing to happen, the assassination, you did see people take a stand on their belief.
Yep.
But they did it in a loving way. So the people, there were not riots.
No.
There were not, burning down the houses kind of thing.
Yep.
Instead, there were prayer services.
Yes.
And so, that's where you just got to look at that, because that's not our nature. Our nature is you just hurt something or took something away that we thought was valuable.
Revenge.
And I'm going to get back.
Yep.
And so I think that would be a perfect example of you saying, I don't like what happened, but I'm not going to do it my way.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it the way of Christ.
Yeah. What did you say? Don't hurt those who hurt you. Do good to those, pray for them, pray for your enemies.
Yeah. And so that's one of Christ says, love your enemy. And again, that was one of those scriptures that I continued to fall back on that made me say, I don't know if I want to follow this guy, which was the reminder to me that I'm the one who's warped, because Christ says, love your enemies. Yes. And that's what he's getting at with this the Charlie Kirk thing and whatever, right? Or the whole party politics.
Yes.
When somebody disagrees with you, you don't hate on them.
No.
You love on them by trying to engage in a way that will bring them to the table.
Yes.
And if you're pounding on the table, that's not going to work.
No.
And why would I pound on the table?
No.
Right? My own insecurity.
Yes.
My own anxiety. My own fearfulness.
The fear there, yeah.
Yeah, and so that's the work of Satan.
Yep.
And so we need to know that when our feathers are starting to stand up, our pride, right? Yeah, and so that our own arrogance gets in the way.
The bad fruit, all of those things you just named, fear, pride, arrogance, like all of those versus what is the other fruits of the Spirit? Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness. Yeah, all of those. So if you start to act in one way, you'll know that you're doing it wrong. And I think too, engaging with those who have different views, again, Jesus did it all the time. But how we did that, he also met them where they were. Like, well, if you want to talk to me, you know where I am. I'm right here. You can see me at...
They want to throw down.
7484 Christina Drive, Suite 101. I don't know if that's the right address.
That's it. That's Andy's office.
That's the only way you'll see me. I'll go have dinner with you at your house, and let's have this conversation of humility and love, because I know I don't have all the answers. I know who does. I know whose way is the way, the truth, and the life that I want to follow. And he did it all the time. He sat down with them at their house and their place. And so, unity is far more important than one person being right and one person being wrong. And how does that create a nation that is strong? Like you said, that compromise and being able to meet over that divide, reaching across and grabbing somebody else's hand and saying, let's talk. What can we do to fix this?
Yeah. So a word that I don't know, I didn't hear you say this today, but that I just want to touch on is, and I've had to question this with myself, the word of integrity. Because integrity is kind of the quality of the fabric, right? So if there's a fabric out there and I, poke a hole in this area because it's weak, and then over here it's strong, it's like that whole fabric, I don't want to make a garment out of it because it's got flaws to it.
Yep.
And so that can be us. Like my integrity, on one issue I stand strong, but on another issue, I'm willy-nilly. And so part of what I think it's important that as you guys listen to this today, are you consistent in what you are proclaiming and what you are following?
Yeah.
In other words, I know my answer might sound different, but I'm always using the same rules to govern my decision. What is my rule? Is this going to honor Christ?
Yep.
And so if it honors Christ and I can explain why it honors Christ, all right, then if it goes against the party vote, then it goes against the party vote.
Yep, exactly.
Right?
Yep.
But if my party vote goes against my fabric, then I need to rethink what I'm doing.
Yes.
Yeah, and that, that can be hard.
It can be. And I think to go back to how did you create a strong integrity? And you said it before, conflict can be a really good thing.
Yeah.
Conflict creates, how do you get strong metal? The crucible, the forge.
Right.
You've got to
Just
put
keep
that thing under
pounding it.
heat. Yeah, you got to put it under heat. You got to pound that thing, and then you've got to go and quench it. And so all of that takes, you having a relationship with people outside of your beliefs will help you within a nice, friendly, compromising conflict. Like, why do I believe that? That's a really thank you, John, for bringing that up. Like, I need to go back and figure out why I believe that. Was it just because somebody told me to at an earlier age? And this conversation that you had said before, getting people who watch this to think, how are you creating your values of life on the political systems, on God's foundation, and then hammering that into a strong integrity that you can stand upon.
Yeah, Andy, one of the things that I don't think you and I oftentimes think about, we are, blessed is not the right word. You and I are trained in the counseling role to learn to listen to all different perspectives.
Yeah.
So when people, in our daily work, people come to us with challenges and problems. And many, many, many times they are against, what they're doing is against our personal belief.
Yes.
Like, why are you doing that? Right? Like that's the inside of me that is speaking.
Yeah.
But because we are providing a service and we're trying to help walk people through situations and circumstances, we can't come across confrontational. We have to bring them to the table.
Yes.
And so part of the art of counseling is to help say, well, tell me where that comes from.
Yeah.
Tell me how you landed on that.
Yep.
Tell me how that makes sense to you.
Yes.
Where did you ground that in? Like, what makes you stand so strongly on that? And so you and I can take for granted how we do that. We've done it so many times, and we practice it on a daily basis. But many people just, well, my way or the highway, or this is how I was raised, and they're locked in.
Yeah.
But they've lost the ability to say, well, tell me more.
Yeah.
And so we would encourage, like, you're not all to go out there and be counselors and coaches of sort, but to just say, ask about other people. Well, how'd you come to that decision?
Yeah.
And then, you know what? Your opinion does not need to be weighed in there.
Yeah.
I mean, unless they say, like, people seldom ask us in a session, what's your opinion on what I'm doing?
I don't know if I've ever been asked that, actually.
Yeah. And so, and again, and I wouldn't share my opinion unless somebody was in danger,
Yes.
or they asked for it.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
You could share some experience that you've gained, but I think too, what that is that's taken a long time to get to that point of seeking first to understand. And we had Brandon McBee on here a couple of sessions ago, and that's one of his things that's why I think him and I get along so well together. He says it all the time. Are you first seeking to understand, or are you seeking to win? Like you had said.
Yeah. Very good point.
Getting that, and I think that was even on Apple TV, there's a show that he owned a soccer club. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Anyways, and
I don't have
see
Apple
this.
TV.
Yeah.
No.
There was an old one that has one-liners, and that was one of his things on there, seeking first to understand versus seeking to be right or wrong. And maybe that comes with some background, that's hard to do if you were beaten into, you will believe this, son, you will do what I say, son, and you were beaten that into you at a young age, like these beliefs. And so to come and think of that way might take some time, but I would encourage those who are listening to this to look a little bit about that side.
Yeah. So guys, it all boils down to this one part, and this is the hard part. For me, it is. There is a right way, and it's God's way.
Yes.
And as much as I don't always understand it or agree with it, there is a right way. And so following Christ comes down to a submission. I've got to take on his way. I have to accept his way.
Yeah.
And so I love Galatians 6:7, where it says, do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows.
That's so good.
God cannot be mocked. Like I can go all day long and talk about how I want to do something, but if it goes against his way, if it spits in his face, he doesn't just say, well, okay, you won this one. He says, go ahead and do it.
Yep.
But my ways are pure. My ways are right. My ways are holy.
Yep.
And I think us trying to align. I want my ways to go with his ways because I don't want to try to mock God.
No.
And so, am I mocking him by trying to get revenge at somebody, by trying to get my way, by trying to whatever, I do. And so way too often I have found myself not unintentionally because I'm letting my flesh govern me, but I'm spitting in his face.
Yes. And then what God does when he allows us to have that free will to make that choice, he doesn't like, okay, good luck, you know where I'll be.
Yeah.
I'm over here, right? And he's sitting there and he's like right behind us, like, hey, I'm here. Whenever we turn around of our own free will to say, you're right, Lord, I'm going to humble myself below you. Whatever age that we make that decision in that humility, he's right there with us like, that's okay.
Yeah, but he's hurt, right? And he's hurt because he knows it's ultimately going to lead to your hurt.
Yes.
Because it doesn't mean he withholds final judgment.
Yeah.
Right? But he's saddened because he's like, this isn't going to end well for you if you stay on this path.
Exactly.
So that's where the desperation on Christ's side comes. And so we should be aware that he does this not out of revenge, but he does it out of sadness as we pull away from him.
Yeah. Well, I just didn't want to like sit on a high horse of like, your way's wrong over there. You Democrat, I'm going to stand right here and, wave to you and that, because that's not what God does. But, wrapping this up as a challenge for men standing strong, unity is something we're looking for. So how can we have civil discourse and unity with that, humbleness and love and truth and grace mixed in between, as Jesus did it so well.
Yeah.
And conflict is a good thing. It's not a bad thing.
Right.
It irons and iron sharpens iron, so that we can sharpen each other. So getting in a group of men, like you want to go and get integrity, you're going to go need somebody else to challenge you on what it is your beliefs are, and are they aligned with God's ways, so that conflict can create that integrity you talked about. That was so good.
Let me stop you just for a second there. The way that I've come to learn whether I am doing what you're saying right there is that if you're talking and I'm creating my rebuttal, my argument back as to why you're wrong, I know I'm in trouble.
That's good.
So I've already jumped off of what you're saying, and I'm going, oh yeah, but versus saying let Andy finish his talk, and then say, tell me more. How did you come to that decision?
Yeah.
Right. So now I'm not trying to convince you that you're wrong. You know who's going to convince you that you're wrong?
Convince yourself.
Yeah, you will convince yourself when you run to the end of your argument and you go, yeah, my logic's not holding up here compared to the way of Christ. I see. I've come to the end of my rope here.
Yeah.
And so I think that's important. When you are quick to jump into the argument with your way, I'm going to encourage you to look in the mirror.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's really good. So.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, guys, hopefully as you hear this, you recognize that this is, it's not as easy as we'd like it to be, right or wrong, yes or no, black or white. But it's because we're trying to take responsibility for how we act and how we will honor Christ. And none of us are going to do it perfectly. I continue to struggle with being selfish and just pig-headed and everything else. But the idea here is I don't want to be led astray by my flesh and by where the crowd's going.
Yeah.
Because I can easily do that. We talked before, like sometimes I just don't know enough about the topic that I just go, well, where's the herd going? And I just jump on and follow the herd.
Yeah.
And the herd could be going to the slaughter.
Yes.
Oh, crud, And so we have some responsibility here to jump in and say, where's the herd going? Is that the direction I want to go?
Exactly. Yeah. So challenging you strong men out there, and women too, for your strong husband or whoever it is you're supporting, getting them to create that foundation that is aligned with Christ's ways, not just a political way. Like you said, like we didn't come up with a straight answer here. This was causing you said at the beginning to think.
Yeah.
You to think and to like, okay, your beliefs, what are they? Who do they align with? Why do they align that way? And then as you interact with somebody else, have that seeking to understand first.
Yeah, yeah. Good topic, guys. A hot topic because of all the different controversy that we have within our country and within this world. But we'd ask you to consider, how are you making your decisions, and is God involved in that platform to guide you? So, again, let's thank our sponsors one last time. Yep. Let's thank Quality Auto Mart, Casey's Outdoor Solutions, and the Hebron Grill. Thanks for all they do for us. Andy, I want to thank you as you continue to come on board here and learn the ropes of what we do, both in the counseling room as well as here behind the camera. You're doing a fantastic job, and you make me look really shabby because he catches up on technology. Like, I'm still trying to figure out how to turn things on and off, and you're just blowing by him, so it's great.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Thank you. It's been awesome to work with you guys. I love it here. So, guys, thanks for listening. Thank you guys for your support, and go out there and be a strong dad.
Is your car making a strange noise? Or maybe your golf cart needs a tune-up? Then you need to head to Quality Auto Mart. Quality Auto Mart isn't just about great auto repair and muffler service for your car. They're also your go-to experts for golf cart sales and repair. And we want to give a huge thank you to Quality Auto Mart for being a dedicated sponsor of the Strong Dads podcast. Their support helps us empower dads in our community and beyond. For all your car repair needs, muffler service, or anything golf cart related, trust the team at Quality Auto Mart. Visit them today and tell them the Strong Dads podcast sent you. That's Quality Auto Mart, located on Route 46 outside Batesville, Indiana. Call them at 812-934-2301.